My name is Chuck Sanders, and I have many titles. So I am a professor of biochemistry. I'm the Associate Dean for Research in the School of Medicine, Basic Sciences. I'm the Lyle and Lange Chair of Cardiovascular Biology, and I'm also President-elect of the Protein Society. So my lab studies membrane proteins. We've done that for many years. And in particular, where research has shifted in the last 15 years or so is to focus on human membrane proteins that are directly linked to various human diseases. And so we study these proteins to understand the roles that the proteins play in these diseases. And the diseases include Alzheimer's disease, Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease, which is a muscular dystrophy, and long QT syndrome, which is a fatal cardiac arrhythmia. In terms of selecting what problems to study, we actually let biology be our guide, because when something goes wrong in biology, that tells you something about what's important in biology. And so by studying disease, you can actually get at basic biological questions that you know are going to be important, because when something goes wrong, it causes disease. We use a number of different techniques. So I was originally trained as a biochemist and a biophysicist. We've used a lot of NMR spectroscopy over the year, but as time has gone on, we've expanded to many other techniques as well. So nobody in my lab competes with each other. Everyone has their own project that's totally different than all the other projects. And this in part helps people in my lab to develop the notion that they should be collaborating and talking and openly with other people, not competing with other people in your own lab. And I believe there's a balance between me guiding people's research and giving people the freedom to pursue their own approaches. And so finding that balance is an important part of trying to run the lab. So when I went to college, I became a chemistry major because my parents expected me to do something that I could get a job with after I got out. And I was vaguely interested in chemistry. And then when I took an actual course in biochemistry as an undergrad, I knew pretty much instantly that that was what I really liked. And that then led to graduate school in biochemistry and all the other training that led to my present position. I mentioned we're interested in how molecules, membrane proteins, contribute to human disease. And so the sort of questions that we're interested in answering are actually basic science questions. Basic science questions are like, what molecule does something? How does it work? And we do those sorts of, we ask those very same questions for the proteins that cause disease. So really we're studying human disease in a way that's very direct to medicine, that is nevertheless purely basic science in nature. And membrane proteins are, I think everyone would agree, they're especially difficult to study because these are proteins that are embedded in the little sac that encapsulates all our cells. And that embeddedness in the sac is what makes things much more difficult. So one of the themes of my work over the last 20 years has been studying how membrane proteins fold. And I think my lab has made major contributions, both in terms of experimental results, but also just in thinking about how membrane protein folding relates to human disease. And I think over the years, our work has helped to make a very compelling case that problems with membrane protein folding very often contribute to many different human diseases. On that website, I have a 13-page document offering quite a lot of thoughts to prospective students and postdocs who want to come to my lab. And so I'm not going to try to encapsulate 13 pages of advice here, just to say that I do think a lot about this. And I view it as part of my job is to take whatever I think I've learned about a career in science and passing it on to the next generation. In giving that advice to them, I encourage them, don't just take my advice, think about it. Do you accept this advice or not? And sometimes people won't think my advice is a good idea, but they should at least think about the issues that are described in that document. Okay. Here, in fact, is the link to that document, and you can download it and read it for yourself. So I went to Milligan College, a very small school in East Tennessee, where I met my wife. As I mentioned, I was a chemistry major there. And my last real job before going into science was working at Arby's roast beef. So science, it turns out, was a much better career path than Arby's roast beef. And so after my final summer working at Arby's, I went to Ohio State University for graduate school, which was actually in my hometown, just coincidentally. So I did my degree in chemistry there, PhD in chemistry there. And then after my PhD, I went to Yale University as a postdoctoral fellow for 3 years. And if anyone's interested, I just wrote a recollections of my postdoctoral time at Yale, which some people might or might not be interested in. I can show you where that link is as well. In fact, it's right here. And then from there went to Case Western for 10 years and then to Vanderbilt in 2002. One thing I would say that really distinguishes the culture of the School of Medicine is that it is a fundamentally, intrinsically collaborative environment. We really do collaborate with other labs here. All my projects are collaborative, and it's a wonderful way to do science. It's a wonderful way to train people, and it's a lot of fun.